So let me talk a little bit about investing. Some of the things for investing, when you budget and you have money left over each month, when you've already established a rainy day fund, money put away in case something bad happens, then you can begin to think about investing, putting away money for long-term plans that you want to purchase, like college, a car, a home, retirement. Those are things that you invest for. Next slide. So again, as I said with investing, you have to first know your personal situation. You really can't start investing until you have that rainy day fund set up. And your rainy day fund should at least be, you want to have 6 months worth of expenses saved up in the bank. So if anything were to happen, you'd be good for 6 months, you know. And generally, they'd say 6 months because that's, I guess, or at a time, that was the average time it would take to find a new job was 6 months. So that's why they wanted you to have a 6-month rainy day fund, you know, should you lose your job or there be some other kind of emergency. You know, ways to boost savings so you have money to invest. You don't necessarily always have to go to Starbucks for coffee. You can, you know, make your own coffee, right? I mean, we can do that. You can pay off your credit cards. That monthly payment, right, if you're making the minimum on your credit card each month, that's money that you can be actually using for investing. And instead of being charged like, you know, 18, 25, even 30% in some instances, if you're investing that money, loaning it out to people through stocks and bonds, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you can be earning 7, 10, 15, you know, even in some cases 25, 30% on your money, okay? And that money comes back to you. All right, next slide. So some of the basic types of investments, there are savings and checking accounts that you can get through your bank, like a money market fund that'll pay you a small amount of interest. I've seen today like, you know, 0.5% and 1%, 1.5 and is the most. So those are really kind of low risk or actually no risk investments, but the return on them is very small. Certificates of deposits, CDs, which we'll talk about a little bit later. That's when you take an amount of money at your bank and like $500 to $1,000. You give it to the bank, you say, I'm not going to touch this money, I'm going to put it in this CD for the next certified time period, like 6 months, 9 months, or a year. And then they give you an interest, again, today, this is a pretty low interest rate, low value investment, like, you know, 2% max. So pretty low return on CDs today. It used to be higher. Next slide. So a couple of the basic investment products that I want to just touch on are bonds, stocks, mutual funds, real estate, and we might do commodities as well. All right, next slide. So the thing about investing in those things I just talked about versus putting your money in the bank, there is risk to your principal. If you invest $2,000, as we'll see, in a stock or bond, that is money that you could lose. You could lose every penny of that. But of course, you could also make a lot more than your original $2,000 invested. So it's just a risk that you have to be comfortable with. Next slide. So bonds lend money to a company that promises to return the money plus some amount of interest. So, you know, you buy on the like for example, the New York Stock Exchange, that's a trading place. If you were to buy a bond for a company for $100, they would promise to pay you back, 2-3% for that. Okay, they'd promise to pay you back like 2 to 3% on the $100 you invested. You know, that's a lot better than the money the return you can get on putting money in the bank. But the risk is you could lose your original $100, $200, okay? Next slide. So stocks, with stocks, you own a part of the company. If the company profits or is perceived as having strong potential, the stock price will go up. So for example, Nike, right? A pair of Air Jordans probably cost $100, $150, right? And if you buy Air Jordans and you wear them, you know, they lose value, right? You couldn't go back to Foot Locker and say, hey, I have these Jordans that I bought 3 years ago. Can you give me more money than I paid for you? They'll look at you crazy and tell you to take your old shoes out of their store. But if you bought, let's say, Nike, does anyone have their cell phone? Anyone have a cell phone? Cell phone? Can someone Google for me, go to Google and put in Nike stock. Just put in Nike space stock. Just want to see what the price is right now. What was that? $53.71. On that same page, does it tell you what the stock price was, like, let's say 5 years ago? Is there a 5 years ago little button? Yeah. What does it say? For 5 years ago? Oh, okay, there we go. So that's what I was hoping the number would be. So if you took $150 and bought some Air Jordans 5 years ago, right now they'd be worth about 5 cents. But if you put $150 into Nike stock at $20 5 years ago, now that stock is worth over 150% more than when you originally invested in it. And all of us have the ability to buy stock. So that same $150 you put into Jordans, if you had put it into stock, now you'd have $300, or actually $325, something like that. So the stock market is a place where you can invest money and your money can grow, but also, you know, there's a risk. You could have lost all of that $150. So it's something that you have to think about and understand what you're comfortable with. Okay, next slide. Mutual fund is just a pool of investments of stocks, bonds, things of that nature that you can invest in, and is managed by a professional. So mutual funds are something that many people in their 401ks, that's a retirement product. Many people are investing in those, and they're managed by professional advisors. And that's a little bit about investing. So can we forward all the way to the last slide? Just keep yeah, this one. So overall, there's some financial education resources that I'd really want you guys to check out. Operation Hope, where I got a lot of this presentation from, operationhope.org, is a financial literacy and education nonprofit. They do a lot of great work all over the world, helping people improve their credit scores, start businesses, learn financial literacy. The Millionaire Next Door, where I got those millionaire facts, it's a great book to read to see about how millionaires in the US really aren't the people you see being all flashy and stuff. You know, they're people that take time, save, and invest, and for most millionaires, grow that money over time. And Investopedia.com. Investopedia.com is a great place for people who are starting out investing to learn about investing. They have great tutorials and videos. It's a really good place to learn, Investopedia. I spend a lot of time there myself to, you know, improve my financial ability. And, you know, overall with financing, I mean, the main thing is, it's kind of simple. You have to spend less than you earn. And you have to track what you spend, put away money for rainy days, and then, you know, invest when you feel comfortable investing. So with that, I'm going to close, and I thank you all for paying attention through that presentation. Thanks, everybody.